Pakistan, it is perhaps there's greater talk about it, and perhaps there's greater.
Does that constrain the government's freedom of action, any government's freedom of action in Pakistan vis-a-vis Kashmir? This highly emotive nature of the issue here.
No, Pakistan's governments in succession have upheld they have upheld the right of the Kashmiri people to decide their future.
No, I'm talking in terms of a negotiated settlement with India.
No, I think there's been a consensus over the years in Pakistan, right from 1947 to now, that this issue must be resolved through peaceful means, number one. Number two, that it should be resolved under the aegis of the United Nations Security Council and the resolution under it. That the people of Pakistan and the government of Pakistan will support the right of the Kashmiris. There is a continuity of consensus right from the first day. So it's not just an emotive issue as such, but there is a continuity of consensus on the very broad spectrum of all the elements of this problem.
Tell me, let me go back to 1988. You said CBMs have not worked, but look at an agreement like non-attack on nuclear installations. That is an agreement that can be held up to the whole world as an example of CBMs between two countries with such a difficult relationship. Why can't more of that be done? Why not open more trade? India has given Pakistan MFN status. Why not? Maybe not reciprocate, but why not? There is a feeling in India that Pakistan is stalling issues like this.
No, Pakistan
as an instrument of policy.
No, Pakistan isn't stalling as an instrument of policy. Pakistan wants very good relations with India. We want to improve our relations. And we feel that this undue stress on confidence building measures isn't going to help. Yes, certainly anything that improves our the environment for discussion will be useful, but at the same time we feel that skirting of the major issue and just beating about the bush isn't helpful. It as a matter of strategy, it hurts. It relegates to the background the major core issue, and if that happens, then it does not lead to an improvement in the climate. It does not lead to the kind of propitious climate that confidence building measures usually lead to in other cases. Here, on this issue, there is such a strong feeling both in India and Pakistan that any beating about the bush, any skirting, really, and postponement of discussions, meaningful discussions, really hurts our relationship. It does not allow progress to be made. And we feel the time has come when both the countries should sit down, take stock of how it is hurting their national interests. We honestly feel that whether it is approaches to Central Asia, whether it is mega regional projects that can benefit a number of countries, like on the gas pipelines, for instance. All those issues which could economically benefit.
What's your view on that?
On that, our view is very clear. In fact, we have told our Iranian friends long ago that, in fact, even when I visited Iran last year, I told the Iranians that Pakistan would be very happy to have this pipeline. And this is something which we have been talking to the World Bank about also. In fact, there has been a proposal for a Qatari pipeline. Qatar, as you know, has one of the world's largest gas fields. And we've told the Qatar and the World Bank teams that we'd be very happy to have a pipeline from Qatar coming to Pakistan. And we've told the Iranians that if they have difficulties on the independent gas pipeline, then we'd be very happy to sit down with them and even try through World Bank umbrella and others to arrange for private sector financing for a project again onto the pipeline. And this pipeline could then go beyond Pakistan into India, the the Western India, I don't know how you classify it, but the area of Gujarat, Kathiawar, etc., which and adjacent areas of India, which are in need of gas, they could benefit enormously.
That is India's industrial heartland.
Yes, and Pakistan would be very happy to facilitate that pipeline. Clearly, Turkmenistan is very keen to export gas. The most economical, the most feasible line is through Pushkar, Herat, Kandahar. Gas needs are enormous. I believe India wants a similar amount from the Iranian or Omanese pipeline that they have been talking about. The Omanese pipeline is uneconomical, is not feasible because of the great depths. There's a trough in the Indian Ocean. And in any case, Oman does not have so much gas reserves. But, a regional concept where Iran, Oman, and Qatar, maybe even other countries.
It could be a mega gas grid.
Yes, and it could be and in fact even the World Bank and other multilateral agencies look very favorably on this because this creates greater confidence in the international private sector investment community also. And it becomes more economical and feasible. Like, I'll give you an example on this Qatar gas pipeline. With the same diameter of pipeline, if you want to double the capacity of gas from 1.6 to 3.2 billion cubic feet per day, all you need is 2 or 3 more pumping stations, and each costing roughly around 100 million. Here's a project which may cost over $3 billion or $4 billion if it gets to India. You can double the capacity and supply the gas just by adding $200 or $300 million worth of extra investment. So economically, it makes a lot of sense.
But does that also have to wait for the resolution of the Kashmir problem, or do you think some of this can go on?
No, it does not have to necessarily wait until then. But and Pakistan has no objections really even to the transportation of gas over our territory to India. But I believe the problems are more on the Indian side. They are skeptical about that. We are not.
No, we are skeptical of anything.
You are more conservative than us.
We have a fatalistic view of life, in general. It's good.
Pakistan
Pakistan is a lot more progressive.
Yeah, no, but what I was trying to say was that we must look at what the future holds in terms of economic benefits through trade, through gas pipelines, through electricity grids, etc. And all that is being thwarted by the core contentious issue of Kashmir. This needs to be resolved peacefully.
But tell me,
again, I must stress this, not through military means, but peaceful.
Tell me, given the domestic political situation in the two countries, given the fact that both our countries are great, raucous, noisy democracy, is it possible for any government to resile from what I call as wholly national positions in Kashmir with capital letters?
Well, it's not a question of resigning from your position. It's a question of people, international law, all international morality, and in the democratic tradition. There can be, we can certainly work out ways and means of moving forward on this peacefully, so long as we decide to move peacefully.
But does the government of Pakistan have any room for maneuver from a fixed position on Kashmir in a round of negotiations?
The government of Pakistan is willing to talk to India meaningfully, resolution of the Kashmir problem peacefully. There's a national consensus on this.
Preconditions? When we've had
No. We've said very clearly that in order to make meaningful dialogue take place, India, which is at this moment engaged, a meaningful dialogue to take place. There's a meaningful dialogue.
We never seem to go beyond the absurdity of non-papers,
Yes,
Isn't
but
that a diplomatic
because
absurdity?
even when you have the non-papers, if the other country having said yes, we are willing to exchange non-papers and have meaningful discussions on that, and then the first thing they say is they restate their position that Kashmir is part of the Indian Union and Indian Constitution, and there can be no talk about it. No, we must talk about the modalities of implementing the Security Council resolution. We must move forward in a peaceful dialogue and through peaceful means.
But there's a view in India, which has been articulated by a lot of our thinkers, analysts, that it was Pakistan, not India, that repudiated UN resolutions in 1965, because from all accounts of that war, which had come now from several Pakistanis of important stature at that time, it was a deliberate, well thought out strategy to wrest Kashmir, and obviously that amounted to repudiation of Security Council resolutions. So after having done that, I'm giving a very blatant Indian point of view, and failed. I mean, there's chutzpah that you take resort to arms, and if that doesn't work, then go back to UN resolutions.
And that is not the perception in Pakistan, either in the government or amongst writers here. And we also, in fact, believe that I personally feel, and I think most members of our government, we have reached India and Pakistan, and the world has reached a stage where future holds prospects for both the countries. We must understand and recognize that both countries have to coexist as neighbors. And we must take stock of all this, the costs and the benefits of continued tension. And we must seek ways of resolving this through peaceful means and see how tremendous the benefits are going to be.
You're saying that I talked about 65, you talked about 71. It sounds like a blood feud.
We must get out of that syndrome,
The blood feud syndrome.
wherever it exists, in whichever quarter it exists. We must get out of that and look to the future, and also see the realities of this world. What will future conflicts between India and Pakistan do to our peoples? Efforts that will accrue if we avoid conflicts and avoid tensions. And I think that individuals and leaders of public opinion in both countries must seriously address themselves to. And on the basis of that, we must start talking to each other in a meaningful way, rather than just to do it for the sake of form.
How open is Pakistan on Kashmir at the moment? I mean, when you talk about self-determination, what is the meaning today? Is it any different from it was in 1948?
Self-determination?
Because when we go to Kashmir, the Kashmiri leaders we talk about Azadi.
There is a context in which is an agenda for partition, agenda to be completed. The last remaining, we feel that both Pakistan can sit down.
In that case, the choice is between India or Pakistan. There isn't another choice.
That is, I think, the position of both India and Pakistan. I don't know if you
I don't know.
never heard of that.
I'm not giving the official Indian situation position. What I'm saying is, when we go as independent journalists to Kashmir, when we hear an overwhelming
You
demand
must,
for
I understand what you're saying, but I
independence.
must
And the
say
third option keeps cropping up
that
all over.
both India and Pakistan are federations. Pakistan is a federation, India is a federation. And there are many movements going on in India, much stronger, much more so than in Pakistan, for either autonomy or even beyond autonomy. We states with their sovereign rights and their borders must deal with their own people, of course in the democratic tradition and according to the law of their lands, in a peaceful way as much as possible. But at the same time, sovereign states have certain rights and they will not allow, and they should not allow, then creates a movement towards balkanization, which can create great sources of tension, and those upheavals can cause great trouble. That is why we are functioning and we are adhering to the United Nations Charter. and
Are
the
you
principles
hinting that
that Kashmir is different? Kashmir is
are
not.
you hinting that in a federal structure
Yes.
in a country, it's possible to find innovative solutions to the Kashmiri's demand for autonomy and independence?
No, and Kashmir is not part of that. Kashmir, our position is very clear that Kashmir is not part of the Indian, that the Indians unilaterally passed a resolution to that effect. The situation that this is disputed territory, different to the movement you had, say, in East Bengal.
No,
It's different to the
I'm-
movements you have in northeast of India.
No, I'm making a comparison between dispute between India and Pakistan and the position of the Kashmiris. I mean, are they an equal party to the dispute
They have the right to decide
between India or Pakistan?
between India and Pakistan. That's all.
What is your view on this strong feeling in India about Pakistani aid to militancy in Kashmir? And let me add that this is not just a feeling expressed in Indian media by Indian government. This is something which has been said quite openly and in great detail by international media. The same media which quite rightly questions Indian security forces record in terms of human rights. With the people arrested, there is thousands and thousands of automatic weapons of the kind not manufactured in India. But isn't there a problem there? President Clinton talked about it. He talked about aid going through private sources and not going through Pakistan government. But there is a problem.
You see, in Kashmir, the people have been denied their right for a long time. We saw, this is how I look at it.
Yes, sure.
I want to put this in the historical perspective.
Right.
With the Afghan jihad and the fact that in the Afghan jihad there was a lot of international effort from the United States and European powers to Arab countries and other countries. There were volunteers who came, and there were volunteers from Indian-held Kashmir who went and also took part in that jihad. And they acquired know-how and knowledge and ways of resisting brutal military machines. And this sentiment and wave of freedom that swept the world following the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Empire, that surely could not have left the people of those vibrations, those effects that really caused the people of Jammu and Kashmir to rise up in a more organized fashion once again. But you will recall that the increase in their activity was primarily political.
Well, I mean, our view is that this would not have happened if Rajiv Gandhi and Farooq Abdullah had not rigged the elections in 1987.
Well, of
And
course,
it's a view we have stated.
rigging of the elections is also
It's
a
a great
very
crime.
important matter, because it does make people feel that that door is closed,
Yes.
that it's a hopeless situation, and the only way they can realize their rights is through an agitation. And they started agitating politically. It was in the cities that non-violent agitation started, until there was a crackdown by violent means by the Indian security forces. And that then brought a new element. The people then thought that the only way was to do it through militancy. Now, you will realize that any movement, for it to be effective, must be based on people. There must be people support. And if that people support is missing, no neighbor, no country, even a superpower, cannot really make much impact. I know that everything and anything that happens in India, whether it's a bomb blast, whether it's in one part of India or another, from the northeast to the extreme south, from your western borders to your central areas, anything that happens is attributed by some section of the press or some part of the government or the other to Pakistan's ISI.
You must be very impressed with ISI.
If I were to read the Indian newspaper reporting, I would feel so proud of how great ISI is. But this is crediting ISI with the capability which even the CIA does not have in the United States. But frankly, humor aside, I think this talk of help from Pakistan is really not on, because it is diverting people's attention from the ground realities. How can Pakistan help them? How can you penetrate the line of control? I'd like to be first convinced on that. The line of control is heavily policed by the Indian armed forces. I think it's one of the most heavily policed anywhere in the world. The terrain is such that until the point where it is policed, it is almost next to impossible for any groups to go across. We are not sending anything by air, we are not sending anything by land route. It's not possible to send it by the land route because of the heavy mines and the policing by the Indian armed forces along the line of control. Beyond where there is active manning of posts is terrain which is impassable, between 20,000 feet and beyond, or over 18,000 feet. Now, how can any groups penetrate that, and at what cost? If everyone can struggle against such a large body of Indian troops, and good, highly professional troops, it's not just a ragtag army, it's one of the finest forces in the world. How can you do that? It's not just practically possible. Pakistan, yes, has been supporting the Kashmiri struggle at the political level. We've been raising them. sustain refugees who come here.
But sir, how have
We are
they-
giving them succor, we are giving them food, there are refugee camps here. But our refugee camps are open to inspection. Anybody can come and see whether we are training our people. There is no training going on. There is nothing of the sort going on. But yes, volunteers, a little trickle going from jihadi groups in Afghanistan, I don't know. We have no evidence. Sometimes we are told that, oh, there was such and such an Afghan or such and such a Pakistani there. You know, a lot of propaganda was made at the time of Hazrat Bal incident. Indian forces, even Indian ministers were on record saying that there are Pakistani commandos there and so on and so forth. And when action was taken, where were the Pakistanis? There were no Pakistanis. So there's a lot of propaganda.
But where have these 25,000 odd automatic weapons which have been captured come in? I think for each weapon captured there must be many more. Rocket launchers, AK-47s, machine guns.
The people who are engaged in this, in indigenous struggle in Kashmir, they must be procuring it. But they might be procured, we don't know. There are, you see, and I'll tell you something. Pakistan has also offered that the United Nations Military Observers Group Pakistan needs to be should be strengthened. We'll be very happy to strengthen that. Right now, I think they have only 30 monitors, or roughly around that figure. Our foreign minister has raised this with the United Nations Secretary General, that we'd be very happy if this consistent Indian propaganda that Pakistan is. Where are we supplying this from? Which is the route? Are we doing it through India? Where are we doing it through? I mean, this is again something which needs to be discussed in a rational way. Where are the possibilities?
I'll draw your attention to your Prime Minister's statement just the other day where she said after the killing of the two US embassy officials that some of this problem is a leftover of what the West created during the Afghan war, this whole so-called jihadi element. I mean, is that a serious problem to stability in the region of Pakistan?
It is a problem for us. Our borders with Afghanistan are extremely porous. It's a very long border, at least 6 times or 5 times the length of the line of control between India and Pakistan. And there are tribes who live on both sides of the border. There are tribal traditions. We don't have forces which are manning the border. So crossings from Afghanistan into Pakistan are a matter of land. This proliferation of weapons along with drugs, and they might even be connected the two, is a very serious problem for us. Part of this, arms and ammunition are moving all over Pakistan. Once it's in Pakistan, tied down to Karachi. And they're all over Punjab and Sindh. So anybody who wishes to pay can get weapons. It is a problem, and we are trying to find ways and means of combating this.
But does some of this fundamentalist element also get mixed up with this, as evident in the Ramzi Yusuf case? Or
Pakistan don't use the word fundamentalist, but certain extremist groups by either religion or crime naturally take advantage of the situation.
I don't get, but I'll quickly wind up. I'll just go from this question to what implications it has for Pakistan internally in terms of social violence, ethnic conflict, particularly the situation in Karachi. How serious is all that, the sectarian violence and situation in Karachi? And how does this sort of throwback of the Afghan war reflect on that?
Well, I think the Afghan war and some of the policies that were the dictatorship of Janani create conditions which are today hurting us badly. on the drug front, ability of arms freely, again, is really is like a force multiplier in problems for us.
I mean, from where? ISI's counterparts and Rob will be very flattered.
Yes, we believe that there is evidence to that effect. And this is creating some problems for us. But we are tackling this problem. We are improving our. These are
There isn't
really
a certain
complex problems.
cynicism on part of the West that, they created all this for a certain purpose and then just abandoned the whole region to its own devices.
Yes.
There's a certain
I think
carelessness there.
I think there is a carelessness. For instance, the Afghan jihad. After all, we in Pakistan were the worst affected